Today we're breaking down every single weapon available in the finals. I tested every weapon in the game so you don't have to, so today you can pick the best weapon for your class. We've got a lot to go through, so let's get started. First, let's establish some ground rules. TTK is time to kill. It's measured in milliseconds and is displayed against every class health pool. Light has 150, medium has 250, and heavy has 350. We assume the fight starts with both players' weapons reloaded. Any shot is fired with an accuracy of 100% for body shots, respectively headshots, and the shot is taken within the damage range. This gives us a theoretical max TTK. You may ask yourself, what is the max damage range for a specific weapon? This testing only covers an ideal use case scenario, where a weapon is only viable for the recommended use case scenario. You wouldn't use an FCAR against a light sniper on Soul, right? Long story short, if you can hit it, we can measure it. Weapons have been organized from lowest TTK to highest TTK. Light is highlighted in green, medium is orange, and heavy is red. There may be some slight discrepancies in reload times despite my best efforts to measure frames in Premiere. For burst weapons, we assume all 3 shots from the burst hit the designated target, body or critical. Worth noting, DPS values for burst can be divided by 3 for a single shot on target. The best way to determine which weapons are best is to sort them by TTK versus heavy, since that is against the largest health pool, and most guns can dispatch of a light class user with relative ease, provided you hit your shots. Let's jump right into it and go from best to worst. We can see that the V9S pistol is the best, boasting a very impressive reload time of 1.3 seconds and has the lowest TTK against all classes. This weapon works great up close and even at medium range. Provided you have a good trigger finger, you can delete a light player in under 300 ms. Secret tip: the finals allows you to remap your primary fire to scroll wheel up and down, which when used boosts your fire rate immensely to the point of it being broken. I still like having left click fire, so I only set up mouse wheel up, and it works great for up close encounters and eliminates single fire wrist fatigue. Coming in close second is the M11, especially strong due to having the largest fire rate in the game and one of the fastest reloads at 2 seconds. Side to side recoil is high, but at closer ranges it can delete. Worth noting, this weapon has the best hit rate even at high ping, with its over 1000 rounds per minute. I've also seen cheaters using it since it can be absolutely broken if you hit your headshots. Works best with cloak, as getting a surprise attack is more lethal and allows you to hit critical shots. Moving on, the XP54 has been a favorite for sweats, rank grinders, and streamers all alike. It has very low recoil after initial kick and has a similar damage profile to the M11, but with slower reload, a smaller mag and lower RPM. Its advantage is its long range capability that the M11 sadly does not have. Recommended strategy: poke damage, avoid engaging very close range, and if you must, allow for reload time when engaging multiple enemies. Learn trigger discipline since the high fire rate and 30 round mag is punishing at first, and only shoot if the enemy is in your sights. Heavies have long been using the SA-1216 shotgun, and it's still as good as ever, despite several nerfs. The main disadvantage for shotguns is the lack of a critical damage multiplier and slower reload, although the SA-12 is one of the best in class at 3 seconds. TTK is longer against heavies, so be sure to dispatch of medium and light first. Works best with aggressive use of the dome shield or barricade and charge and slam so you can close the distance faster. Next we have the medium repeater, aka the model 1887. Way too many numbers in the naming scheme if you ask me. Still no headshot damage for this one, but a great all-rounder capable of 2-shot killing a medium or light and a 3-shot against heavy, provided all pellets hit. Aim for center mass, don't even try to headshot or your pellets will miss in a halo. Focus on strafing and hitting your shots and you can wipe a whole team without reloading if your target priority is always medium, light, heavy. Coming in 6th, the dreaded LH1. Since the surprise buff, mostly every light has used or is using this weapon, especially in terminal attack where there is no defib, healing beam, and burst damage is king. In the right hands you can delete any player in under 1 second, and with the 15 round mag, a surprise attack can deal enough damage to wipe 2 teams without reloading. Enough said. The Flamethrower is an odd pick, mostly for the casual side or a team running heavy medium or medium heavy. This weapon is for the Flammenwerfer enjoyer and can deal 84 damage per tick. In an enclosed space, this can turn any room into the 7th circle of hell, especially useful with or against goo since the fire spreads very quickly. Theoretical TTK is not the best, but in the right hands and with the element of surprise, you can seriously cripple a team and guarantee they lose the fight. The SH-1900 shotgun for the light is pretty underrated, mostly because of its small 2-round mag size. This little thing can 2-shot any class, provided you hit all pellets for a max damage of 195 per shot. As with all shotguns, avoid critical hits, go for center mass, and maximum pellet distribution. Reload is best in class for a shotgun at 2.7 seconds, so it works best with cloak, and glitch nades or traps so no one-shot abilities can be used against you. The R357 revolver or Magnum is probably the best medium weapon, due to its impressive damage of 74 for body shots and 148 for headshots. This weapon is seriously powerful in capable hands, and despite its lower rate of fire, can outperform the FCAR, AKM, and FAMAS in a close-range fight. It can also be useful at medium to long ranges, provided you hit your shots. If you're using this weapon, you should always look to do damage before the fight, and if the fight is close, you don't want to engage first, since 444 damage per mag means you will need to have time to reload, reposition, and hit headshots. The FCAR is no longer the medium go-to weapon, since its recoil rework initial vertical recoil is quite high, and TTK with a 25 round mag size is not competitive when engaging a full squad. Having to back out of the fight often and having one of the worst body shot per mag damage values are holding this one back. The AKM has similar issues but with horizontal recoil. The AKM does have a higher damage per mag, but with the extra side-to-side bounce you're bound to miss some shots bringing it to the same theoretical level as the FCAR. The FAMAS is better at a distance, but not very viable up close. Also, unless you hit headshots, the low fire rate coupled with the burst recoil profile does not combine into a competitive TTK against most compositions. Between these three, I would pick the FCAR or FAMAS if your aim and recoil control is up to par, otherwise go with the AK and look to engage at shorter distances. The R357 or Model 1887 are still the way to go, in my opinion. Next up, we have the M60, which is the strongest LMG now after the recent buffs and nerfs. Damage per mag is especially high, and if you learn to control the recoil, you can definitely hit headshots easier. And with 70 rounds to spare, you'll be able to continue pumping damage when everyone else is reloading. Worth noting, after initial recoil settles, the weapon will still pull up, so try not to dump a whole mag at a time. The lowest gun is still pretty good at the moment with much greater accuracy than the M60, but due to its much smaller mag and lower fire rate, is more viable in capable hands. If you don't hit critical hits, effective TTK is lower than the SA-1216, where you don't even need to worry about that. I would suggest trying both the M60 and the Lewis out for a couple of matches and seeing which one feels better to you. The sword has been getting a lot of press lately due to people using emote cancel to effectively cut the TTK in half. Embark is also suspending players using this exploit and working on removing it from the game. Regardless, sword is fun, and with a backstab and swing or two, you can dispatch of any class in around 1 second. For ranked cash out or terminal attack, melee weapons are not generally used. As with any melee weapon, engagement distance will be point blank, meaning you will take a lot of damage unless you are using cloak and are master of escape. Riot shield is another unranked friendly pick, very annoying to fight against and somewhat versatile. Your shield can block incoming projectiles even if it's not raised, and will always protect your right side. Baton damage is not stellar but can get the job done, and you can also protect yourself, which is a huge plus. KS-23 is a slug shotgun for the heavy class. No headshot multiplier, as per usual, can fire at the longest range though out of all shotguns and has a pretty tight spread. Reload time is worst in the game, as is fire rate. Only useful feature is this weapon can destroy walls, unlike any other projectile weapon. Overall, pretty niche, this weapon can be fun but not very impactful in its current state. The 93R Burst Pistol for Light class. A new addition in Season 2, this minimally exceptional pistol only shines if you hit all 3 shots in the burst. If you do, theoretical TTK can be under 500 ms for a light player, but with its slow fire rate, capped at 260 RPM, this pistol is heavily outperformed by the V9S, except reload time at 1.2 seconds, which is pretty damn close to the V9S's 1.3. The medium grenade launcher, or CL40, has been making the rounds since APS turrets got nerfed, and can pump out anywhere between 29 and 93 damage, depending on how close the explosion is. Direct hits will always be 93 damage, so theoretical TTK against a heavy with direct hits would be around 1 second, although that would be difficult to maintain. Best use case would be with an APS and Guardian turret, so you have something to fall back on when you inevitably miss and have to reload. The Dagger is annoying due to its whopping 320 critical damage, second best in the game after the heavy spear. Pretty impressive for a little Swiss Army knife. Regular damage is 50, so spamming primary attack is not going to go well if you're fighting anything other than another light player. In capable, cloaked hands, this weapon can be devastating and the best way to third-party a res or a defib. In most hands, however, your team will be asking you to swap faster than you can say rubber baby buggy bumpers. Dual swords, another weapon for players who want to bring a knife to a gunfight. Probably the worst melee weapon in the game. The only useful features are the deflect and the fact that you can hit multiple enemies at once. TDK is not stellar against any class, and the Riot shield boasts better overall damage and enhanced defensive capability with the shield, only for the hardcore wakizashi enjoyer. SR-84, or the light sniper, one of the worst balanced weapons. bullets. Has no theoretical max range, so headshots are viable anywhere. Preferred by soul campers and terminal attack players due to the high burst damage, this weapon has one of the highest skill ceilings, which means your team will either love you for using it or hate you with a passion. Crosshairs have a lot of sway in the finals, and while Embark has not been clear on banning for third-party crosshairs, the weapon is much easier to use without crosshairs or with Crosshair V2, which is available on the Microsoft Store. Pretty much goes for any other weapon as well, but the SR-84 makes the most of this advantage. Proceed with caution. Sledgehammer. While the Sledge has had its moments, Embark has recently stated heavy attack should not hit multiple players, so it's gonna get nerfed. Meaning, the weapon will shortly deal 115 to multiple targets while swinging primary, and 200 to a single target with the heavy secondary attack. Overall, pretty slow and exposes you to attacks should the enemy be outside your range. Pretty niche at best, unless you have to deal 1 million arena damage. New in Season 3, the Spear. 100 damage for poking with the primary attack and a maximum of 400 or more by swinging with the secondary attack, which can hit multiple targets. Better than the Sledge for sure, and with higher mobility, it still somehow falls short of the SA-1216, M60, and Lewis due to its short range and slow attack rate. The MGL-32 has never been popular. Running a medium with CL-40 is definitely better as the MGL-32 deals less damage per shot and is harder to hit. Against a heavy player, TTK is almost 3 seconds. Plenty of time for them to overpower you with most of the other heavy weapons. Only good for Junkrat mains and people looking for a challenge, highly situational at best. Throwing knives. The hate for this weapon is never ending. After the buff, this became one of the go-to weapons for light players, being massively broken due to its infinite ammo, limited only by the fire rate. So while everybody else is reloading, the Cutlery Light is still dumping silverware at the whole enemy team. Very fun to use and highly frowned upon. You won't get more hate than on this build, especially if you add stun gun. Last but not least, the Recurve Bow. Very difficult to use, it boasts a higher fire rate than the SR-84 sniper, but lower damage per hit. Based on charge time, an arrow can deal anywhere between 55 and 120 for a body shot, and between 83 and 180 for a headshot. Pretty competitive TTK if you hit headshots or if you spam at close range, but otherwise, you can go all the way upwards of 6 seconds for minimally charged body shots on a heavy. So there you have it, all the weapons for Season 3 and how they stack up against each other. Let me know in the comments, what are you going to be using this season? The document I built is public, so feel free to suggest any corrections I might have missed. Last but not least, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any future comment. Stay fresh, cheese bags.